Days after lifting the prison from the ground, Cessair's work began to formulate. Within that horrible prison, a building draped in malevolence, the ensnared bodies of dozens of Corsairs, still alive, but perhaps not for much longer. Cessair had brought his pilgrimage to the first populated Corsair camp he found on the Isle's ashen coast, and had obliterated it. He had stumbled across a camp prior, though it seemed a horrid disease had already wrought its chaos. All that remained were decayed, fetid corpses, alongside a carpenter's hammer left on the dock, caked in aged crimson. With the prison full, the first round of sacrifices could begin. Cessair brought his final remaining druids to the sacrificial circle, ready to bring forth the keystone, the place of slaughter, the Devourment Pit. Welcome back to Season 3 of Settlers. Today, in Episode 4, we'll be building the Devourment Pit, an ancient ritual site that plays a critical role in Cessair's journey. The requirements for this build are on screen now. As before, there are no mods used in the construction, but the decoration will need a few mods. So, without further ado, let's get started. Firstly, I started off with, of course, the base plate. I laid it out here as I showed in the blueprint. The base plate is a fairly simple circle, held up with pillars and ceilings covered by walls. Next, I placed the frames for the stairs and the double door. I had a bit of trouble placing the double door at first, but by removing the wedges behind it, I was eventually able to place it down. I then moved on to the walls. I built the interior and exterior walls 3 tiles high, using walls and windows on the interior, and large interior archways and exterior doorways on the exterior. Once those walls were up, I then used extra walls and sloping sides to create gables around the rim of the exterior walls. After the gables were finished, I added a rose window opposite the door on the ritual floor, which I admittedly forgot to do earlier. On the interior walls, I built the walls up 1 more tile, then adding 2 gables to match the exterior. Between those small gables, I used walls and sloping sides to create large rises. Once I'd finished those rises, I used ceiling pieces on the 4th tile to build an interior ring. Onto that, I constructed smaller rises to sit between the gaps in the previous ones. When those rises were then completed, I used roof pieces beneath the interior ceiling ring to smooth it into the walls, which finished off the build. Looking over the pit, there were no noises anymore. No echoing screams, no bubbling potions, just the heavy silence of death. Cessair looked down into the hole at the centre, seeing an inert silver crystal below. This was the Sacrum stone, exactly as the tome had spoken of. The pit was ready, and the stone needed to be fed, but doubt had begun to weave its web. Would the Corsairs be enough? Souls surely laid further afield across the coast of this isle, but just how much would the stone demand? Could enough blood be spilled to satiate its ancient thirst? In his malaise, Cessair's mind retreated to a few days prior, as he was setting out to gather his first prisoners. A faint torch had caught his eye, flickering beneath the blanket of fog. Staff in hand, he resolved to make the bearer his first prisoner. Upon reaching the torch, he encountered a hooded man who spoke with conviction. He too was a pilgrim, and upon his utterance of the words "she without eyes," the two spoke no more. Cessair allowed him to continue south. If the Sacrum Stone's thirst ran deep, he may meet that wanderer once more, another sacrifice for the woman beyond the veil. Casting a complex illusion, he led the first of the prisoners to the Devourment Pit, uncertainty still lingering like smoke in his mind. Once inside, the prisoners fell to their knees in the pit, enthralled by the Sacrum Stone. Each drop of crimson to flow from these prisoners was precious. The blood debt was enormous, and wiping doubt from his mind, Cessair endeavoured to flood the pit until the stone was satiated. His druids dead, his blade drawn, Cessair knew what remained to be done. Through blood, and by the blade, the veil shall part.